Alright, things working right now? Okay, looks like it's working. Alright, I started late, but... Let me make sure we're not overloaded. So, new video is up. Last video of the month is up. I kind of redid my character a little bit. And I need to take care of my building. Wait. Hold on. There's a maximum now? Interesting. Okay, I need to make a new Twitter post too. Going to 7 a.m. in the morning? Well, we gotta get these hours in somehow. So 12 a.m. server time. Okay, so he's still around. How do I find him, though? Oh, somebody is doing the... Somebody's doing the weekly boss that I need. Not weekly, the world boss that I need. That is a good question. Where is the new guy? I need to know the answer myself. Oh, chest. Nice. Thank you. And I got Jack Squat. Why do they want me to make a purchase? Anyways, Oh, I have my Twitch drops. Hey, hey, not bad. Not bad at all. Oh, let's see here. This random? This is random.
Hi, how are you?
I'll take it. What about this one? Random. Ooh. Nice amount. Ooh, these are 10. Wait. I don't have 10. Oh, right, I already completed my bounties, so... what else do we do? Oh, right, let's go back to the island. Anybody else need bosses? Lose the edge chest. Alright, we're going to another chest, I guess. I do need to take a meal break eventually. Like, pretty soon. So I'm gonna see what other YouTube series we could watch in the hotel in the meantime. Ooh, I got cosmetic shards. By chance? Let's check the island. There will be an old man above the... Oh, we don't even have him. We don't even have the new guy today. Shame. Right, I need to make a new Twitter post. Okay. So, how's everybody else doing? Is there any point for me to do this anymore? The only other reason is to try to get one of these rewards, but... I think as long as I got, like... the gotcha thing... it's fine. Why does this event only exist for 6 days? I would probably just only play to get this and be done. And this. This is important too. This in-game web event is so weird. Make meals for 5 times a day. Play the kitchen. Share one activity each day. I haven't shared yet. Why is there only an option to share this event on Twitter and Facebook? And not like another form of sharing. The way they handle, like, this thing is so weird. You guys can't see what I'm looking at, but it's mostly because it refuses to be captured by the game capture. Even if I try to capture it, it's just not going to, it's not going to display itself properly. Activity reaches 150. Create a character and reach level 18. Create a character and reach level 30. Well, that's an invite mission. Okay. I'm gonna paste this link over here. Let's see. Obtain my keys. Okay, there's just plenty of time for us to complete this one. No point right now. What's this? Oh, thank you. I wonder how much effort it will take until this game just crashes again. Nope. Oh, this one's good. Nope. 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 At least we got one good one. Alright, let me start the Stream Raiders map in the meantime. Feel like we got super sabotaged last night. Yeah, I think we got super sabotaged. There's no rhyme or reason why a lot of people would join one map and then immediately leave the next one. It's just nonsensical. Oh, there is a cooking machine over here. "14 satiety." What's the most amount I can recover? If anything. 14 looks like it's the biggest one. 20. Okay, so this might be something. And then this is, okay. Makes sense. I wonder if that worked. That should work, I hope. Okay. 5 keys for 5 chests. Only one step away from the grand prize. What grand prize? More presents? Man. Anyways, where was I going? I was going over here. What I'm really surprised about is that they flippin' doubled our energy system. Which is amazing. That's a lot of energy. It's super easy to get batteries, too. Can we auto battle this? I'll send a recruit. Alright, who's going to join? Alright, we got a full group. Nice. I'm still relatively surprised I got one more video in for the month. The edits were pretty quick too, and it was not too complicated. Oh yeah, there's a Stream Raiders battle if anybody wishes to join. I need to check one thing, though. The weapon still hasn't changed yet. Okay, let me check my other map now. I don't have any good ones in this one today. Great. Joint operation. I don't feel like doing this one. What's really interesting, the keyboard doesn't move for these controls, these camera controls. I don't know why. They just don't respond to this. Cool. Alright, let me go ahead and make sure we have the latest post on Twitter. Okay, I posted on Twitter. Now to also post on Discord. And it looks like Discord servers are pulling April Fool's jokes again. I do need to drink some water, too. Just a friendly reminder, we still are playing Stream Raiders. Oh yeah, there's 2 new codes today. Interesting. Sorry, I like to talk to myself sometimes. Okay, where did I get the Discord ping from? There's a bunch of Discord servers having fake notifications because April Fool's Day. Actually, that gives me an idea. Okay, who the heck... Oh. Alright, let's see what these new codes are about. Okay. Wait, don't tell me this is a fake code. Yep, that's fake. And I'm going to guess this is also fake. Yep. No surprise, fake. Okay, I didn't mean to add this person for whatever reason. No offense to the individual. Whoa, 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 wait. Is that too much? Okay, that's the right amount. What else? If HP is less than 30%, gain a shield. And the 4 pieces specific to that. Wait. Alright, she's not in a complete set yet. Because I don't have all the pieces I need for her. Okay, is there a weapon I could... No, it's... Upgrading a weapon can only do so much. What's really important right now is if I can upgrade the rest of my gear. Yeah, that barely increases any increment. Like, barely. This really doesn't matter because I do not need this. Wait. Yeah, I really don't need this since I'm a high level right now. Wait. Hold up. These things can be recycled. I never even used those gadgets. Huh, interesting. I mean, I do need the gold. Like, a lot. Let's think about it further. Maybe we should continue the cutscene related. Wait. Grand Sea Tunnel. Oh, is this the portal? Is this the portal that goes to the next map? That might be it. Why don't we sneak to the... Why don't we jump levels? Yeah, let's jump levels and see see if we can use any weapons for the next levels. You have got to be kidding me. This is not going to put out a lot of damage. Yeah, this is not going to put out a lot of damage, period. What makes them think this can work? I mean, I could try, but there's no guarantee. Okay, let's put on that funky set then. The main issue is that, like, you have 2 tank weapons. You build up survivability, but that costs you a damage bonus. That is a main issue. Okay, so then I'm gonna actually put my regular shield breaking set on this thing. But of course, one of the main issues is that... Actually, hold on a second. I have the actual pieces for this. Like the full piece. So this should be just fine. This should be just fine. Booyah! Now the main issue is that this weapon is not completely upgraded. I mean, I could upgrade it if I want to. Maybe we should be okay. That combat mode max levels the equipment anyways. Like, not the weapon, but... I'm sure everybody gets the idea. Okay, I cannot promise the best damage with this display. This is gonna be terrible. That is never going to work out. Fiona! That was never going to work out. Especially when it's a challenge mode that's a damage check. That was never going to work out. At all. Period. It could have gone better. Actually, now that I think about it, I need to check another thing. First of all, almost forgot about that. Ooh, okay. Nice. Now this is maxed out for now. I'll put this on here for now. And then there should be another... Interesting. Perhaps I could level this up. Because this is still a pretty great piece to level up. Five units are on the battlefield. Hopefully we do not get sabotaged like before. Let's see. Nobody gets the skin. Okay, I don't have the skin, so everybody else will get whatever rewards they can get. Okay, next mission. 5 Templars, 2 Berserkers. Do I need to put a Templar here? Maybe I should put a Templar in this one. The stages are just going to stay difficult for a while. Really? Where did you come from? This is concrete. Oh, right. I still need to do this thing. Right. Hmm. Anything else I could do besides that one? Okay, did they change the... What is it? This is the... not the last thing I will do today, but, one I can do before my meal break soon. Okay, let's see if there's anybody who can queue with me. Really? There's nobody? Feels sad I can't get anybody in the queue. Oh, there we go. That's a surprise. I think we'll be fine. Usually the spending players would be helping me anyways. I cannot change after I'm here? Come on. Once again, we should be fine. Ooh, this piece could be good. Oh, I didn't put my unit down yet. I need to remind myself to put down a unit now. Wait, hold on. What is this again? Ranged. I mean, we could probably do Shinobi for now. Yeah, we have a bunch of ranged on the field. I feel like if we just go assassin, we should be fine. Assassin units are fine. Oh. Nice. And I believe that is a mission as well. For my weeklies, yes it is. Battle test arena. Somebody's doing a raid right now? Let's see. He no longer exists. Ugh. I have to grab a meal pretty soon. Wait, what's going on with you? Hello? This one was just dancing over here. Might as well put some music over it that matches. Alright, so how much time has passed? 1 hour-ish? I'll give it another minute or so because we needed time to start the game. I still have to finish my exploration. No matter what. It's just going to take a heck of a bunch of time. Alright, let's go back to the hotel room for now. Did I finish my weekly missions? I think I finished my weekly missions. I think I did them yesterday. I could check again. There's people in here. What are the new pieces I got again? Two of these. And one of these. Hmm. Interesting. Oh. So the ones I got, I already had. Wow. Okay. Alrighty then. I mean, if I already had them, I already had them. Would have been nice to get new pieces, but it's only asking so much from RNG. Alright, let's head upstairs. What series shall we watch today? Well, so here's something fun. So we have this little bird on top, right? If we go to sleep, I think the bird is asleep with us. Like, you can see it opening and closing its eyes. Oh, thank you for the girl. Thank you for the gold, ladies. Wait, the supply box should be, yep. Reset. Wait. I need new research because, like, this one, I don't need to keep doing this one. I could if I want to, but for now, go ahead and, let's go ahead and see what we could put on TV this time. Actually, let me make sure the camera's oriented properly, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and be right back. Grab more water, some food, and in the meantime, We will still have some Stream Raiders going on. And let me see what I could put on YouTube for you guys.
Everybody got really excited the last time we made burgers. So today I'm gonna make burgers, but I'm gonna make them a little bit different. I'm gonna make burgers with a twist. I guess I'm actually combining two different foods in this video. Obviously, we're gonna make everything homemade. And some of the stuff I'm not gonna take you through the process of, because I already got those pickles marinating in my fridge and I've had them for a while, but they're still homemade. But one of the more fun things to make homemade when you make burgers, in my opinion, is the buns. But instead of regular buns, can you guess what we're gonna make? Pretzel buns. They definitely have a really cool look to them if you execute them properly. And I just don't see how you can possibly not love a bunch of Wagyu beef sandwiched between two pretzel buns. Seriously, I mean, how can you get better than that? On top of that, we're gonna make some really delicious special sauce, my favorite recipe. A recipe that I've actually been honing for quite a while. And then we'll put a bunch of really good toppings on there. How can you beat that? Now for this, we're gonna be doing a blend of two things. What you're looking at right here is Japanese Wagyu, more specifically an A5 Takamori strip loin. This bad boy right here is the best of the best. Just look at that marbling. For me, this just never gets old. It actually reminds me of a snowflake. Every single one has that slightly different pattern, but all of them are so incredibly beautiful. And it's fun to look at the differences between them. As you can see here, we have that fat cap across the top, and then under that, it's just all amazing, perfect marbling. Now, we can't simply just grind this up and make a patty with it because it's not going to hold together super well because of how much fat there is. So we get another piece of Wagyu. This may not look quite as pretty, but this is an American Wagyu strip loin. So same kind of meat, but just from a different place. As you can see, this is a little bit less fatty. So when we grind this up, it's going to do a really good job at helping us hold together that patty really nicely. But it should come as no surprise that this is the slightly prettier one. And this is the more prized possession that we're putting in this burger. The other thing I'll say is that these are from the Wagyu shop. And I say that in every video when I use this Wagyu, but this is just where I get it from. And I get enough questions about how I get this beef that I'm telling you. And has never been an ad, but I'm literally just telling you that this is my go-to spot for Wagyu. We'll start here with number one and no, he's too precious. I can't throw him. Number two. I did it anyway. Once that's all set up, let's do some hand grinding today. I just want to get in there. Just chop that up real nice and fine. We're basically trying to mince these really well together with our knife. So I'll start by just chopping them into strips. And then once I get there, it's just a free-for-all. Just go for it. If you're doing this by hand, it'll definitely take you a little while, but it's actually pretty satisfying to see that meat go from those two big steaks into a nicer ground beef, just like this. And the more amazing thing for me is to look at that fat content and that marbling that you've created. Just think about it. Wouldn't this make the best burger you've ever had? Once we've ground up all our burger meat, scrape it off your board with a bench scraper, and then toss it in a bowl. This can sit in the fridge for a little while we finish making everything else. You don't have to use Wagyu to do this. I'm telling you right now that if you pretty much use any decent steak that you pick up at the market, grind it up yourself, and then make it into a burger, they'll be the best burger patties you've ever experienced. I've done this a lot of times, and this just happens to be probably the best burger meat I've ever made. We'll have to cook it first to see if I'm right. While our meat is resting in the fridge, let's make those pretzel buns. To start, we'll add 2 cups of warm milk, 1.5 cups of warm water, and when I say warm, I mean about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and while whisking, 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast. I find that if you're not whisking when pouring in yeast, it all clumps together and it can be a real pain in the butt. Now, we'll let this stand for about 10 minutes to wake up a little bit. I'm also gonna add just a sprinkle of sugar, which is technically optional, but I really think helps to wake things up a little bit more. Tilt down your mixer, and while slowly whisking, we're gonna add in 7 cups of all-purpose flour. You can definitely do this by hand if you want as well, but I've definitely found over time that letting your stand mixer do the kneading for you instead can save a lot of time and pain in your wrist. So I'm gonna be a little bit lazy today. If any of your edges are sticking at all, you can add a little bit more flour in there. Depending on all sorts of factors, you may even have to use a full cup more flour than I do in here. But just keep an eye on it, and once it fully pulls together, you'll know when it's done. After that, just let it knead a little while to make sure that it's really soft and smooth, all in one big ball together. In the end, if you pull it out and it's still too sticky, close it back down and add a little bit more flour. Once that dough is soft and smooth, scoop it out of your bowl and really try to get every last bit together. Trust me, once you taste one of these pretzel buns, you're gonna wanna eat every last bit. Now, once you've sort of shaped together that big, beautiful piece of dough, you're gonna lift it up, you're gonna plop it right into a nice greased bowl. Make sure that thing has ample space to grow, because this is gonna get a heck of a lot bigger. Now we'll cover this bowl up with a damp kitchen towel and let this rest for about an hour or an hour and a half in a warm place. Now that our pretzel bun dough is rested and doubled in size, we'll take off the towels. It's crazy how much this puffs up, right? That was exactly 1 hour that I waited, and look how much dough there is right here. To start, I'm gonna give this a gentle little slap to get out some of that air. It's pretty cool how quickly that sinks down, but don't push out too much of the air. I'm gonna put a little flour on my cutting board and then dump out all that dough. The fact that it's really fluffy around the edges here is a sign that this is some fantastic dough that we've made. Just look at all that fluffiness right there. It's almost like a perfectly marbled steak with that even spread of air bubbles and dough. And it smells so fermented too. I'm now gonna shape this into a nice log so that I can easily divide it into about 12 even pieces. I'm gonna be making some pretty thick buns here. I'll use my bench scraper to give myself a general little line through the middle. And then I'll try to get some approximately similar sized balls. And then I'll cut them the other way to get these big nice squares. To shape these squares into buns, I'll clean off my cutting board because I don't want any flour for this part. I'll flip them upside down, then begin pinching in from the outside. I'll go all the way around the bun until I have a little sticky portion right on the bottom. Then, almost like a dumpling, I'll flip it over, and while that sticky part sticks to the bottom of the board, I'll move my hand clockwise until this is the perfect bun shape. This takes a little bit of practice, but once you get it down, it's not a problem at all. As you can see, we've nailed the cute little bun. Add a little bit of flour to the bottom and set this aside. Repeat this exact process with the rest of your buns. The more you've practiced, the quicker you can be at this. Lay your dough balls down on a baking sheet, lined with either parchment paper or something similar to this. Be really gentle with them because we want them to stay in this perfect shape. Now again, just for about 15 or 20 minutes since we were handling them so much, we'll lay this towel over and let them rest a little bit. This will let them come back up to that beautiful bulbous shape. So to make our little bath here, we're gonna put about a quarter cup of baking soda, making sure that that doesn't bubble over the edge, and a nice handful of salt. Now, taking these soft beauties, a couple buns at a time, and placing them into the bath, let them go for about 30 seconds on each side. I'll do these in groups of 3. An important thing to note is that the longer I leave them in here, the chewier they'll be after we cook them in the end. They might get a little shriveled and deflated looking right now, but they'll fix themselves when they go back in the oven. Move these around for just a minute, and make sure you have something slotted that you can pick them up with. Once these have been in for long enough, shake off that excess water and place them back on your baking sheet. Again, you can experiment a little bit. If you want a really chewy pretzel bun, go for it and just leave them in for like 2 or 3 minutes. Now we'll just do the same exact thing with the second half of our batch. Once they're done in the boiling water and they're sitting back on the sheet, we'll take a really sharp knife and make a few indents through the buns. I find that it helps to dip your knife back in that boiling water between each cut so that it's better lubricated to slide right through the bun. This is gonna give us really nice patterns when they eventually expand in the oven. So feel free to play around a little bit with those designs that you're doing. For this one, I'm gonna do an N for Nick. And for this other one, I'm gonna do a P for my hamster pesto. Now we'll place these in the oven at 425 Fahrenheit for about 20 to 22 minutes until they're deep golden brown. We want that golden brown pretzel color. Now for my secret sauce. I'm gonna start with a bunch of mayonnaise. No, but in all seriousness, I really like to start with just a nice heavy base of mayonnaise. This, you know, is Japanese mayonnaise. And I know I've mentioned that I go through at least 1 or 2 bottles a week. I'm pretty sure it has MSG in it, but it's really dang good. And I also don't really care that much about eating MSG. Then I'm gonna go in with some diced homemade pickles. Again, you know I sometimes like to cook, especially with this sort of thing, without exact measurements. But I will put a recipe for you in the description below. Next, about the same amount of diced onions. I'll follow that with just a little bit of garlic powder, then out of that same pickle jar, about a tablespoon or so of that juice. A lot of people will put white vinegar in special sauce, but why not use that pickle juice? It's more flavor. To finish out that sauce, I'll add a little bit of hot sauce, and some nice salt, and some fresh cracked pepper. Let's not forget, just a nice little squirt of ketchup. Now mix that up for the best tasting special sauce you've ever experienced. It seriously is one of the most amazing things out there. And if you make a lot of it, you can set it aside and use it next week for literally anything. Dip fries in it, maybe some chicken nuggets, use it for your sandwiches. It is the best. For our patties, we'll start by cranking up the heat to pretty high. Now because this meat is so fatty, we really don't need to put down any oil or anything. I'll take out a nice ball and work this into a good shape in my hands. Then I'll press this right down and using my spatula, press it down again. Because you already know we're making smashed patties. Then once it's nice and smashed, leave it and let it cook. When that first side has a nice crust on it, flip it over. Notice that we got a crust and a sear similar to what we would try to get on a steak. That is exactly what we're going for here. Now, we'll take a piece of our cheese and lay it over the top, sprinkle just a little bit of water in there, and add our lid. That's gonna steam in there and immediately melt the cheese. Now, because we haven't seasoned this beef yet, and granted, it's Wagyu, so it has a lot of its own flavor in there, keep your salt and pepper handy to give it a quick hit of each after it finishes. Remove that lid and admire the delicious meltiness that you've got going on. Then, hit it with a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt. That right there is ready to go on a burger, and it's gonna blow your mind. Do the same thing with the remainder of your patties. A nice little ball, placed down in the pan, and then a quick little smash. There's something really great about smashed patties. They get such a nice crust and they're so easy to cook. For our last few patties here, I'll flip these beauties over and continue admiring those crusts that we're getting on there. Then I'll add on a few different colors of cheese here just to mix things up a little bit. And again, toss on that lid to get them nice and smoky. That's gonna easily melt down that cheese. Same way you would do it with a quesadilla. Now look at that melty goodness. These are ready to put on a bun, I think. Into this bowl, I'm gonna pour in my Wagyu fat. Then I'll clean off this crust on my pan so we can toast those buns, and then we're ready to put it together. And once our pan's clean, we'll pour in that fat, and here's the bun I'm gonna be using. We're picking the Nick bun, because this is the Nick burger. Place those cut side down, move them around just a little bit to get the fat all over there, and then press down if you can, just to let them toast evenly. When those buns are golden brown and toasty, put them aside. We're ready to make that burger. To put our burger together, I'll start with a little bed of lettuce so things don't get soggy on the bottom. I know it's not supposed to be healthy, but hey, this helps, right? Next, I'm gonna place down our first patty. That looks so crazy good. After this, I'm gonna add a nice hunk of tomato with a little bit of black flaky salt. You can never forget to salt your tomatoes. Now, instead of caramelized onions, I'm stepping it up a little bit. These are crispy fried onions that I made in my deep fryer. Then I'm gonna put my first round of special sauce, and hopefully that'll get slightly soaked up by the onion so that it doesn't bleed all over my entire burger yet. That'll happen, we just wanna wait a minute. Then our second patty, because what's a burger without a couple patties? Finally, a couple homemade pickles, and then a little more special sauce right onto the underside of our bun. On goes our end bun, and now I ask you, is that not the craziest burger you've ever seen? Now first, I want to proudly state that this is the sexiest burger I've made to date. Just look at how crazy that thing is. There's something about all that sauce dripping down, that N on the bun. Oh, we lost a pickle. Oh, we lost another pickle. Every time I make a burger, I feel like I've topped myself. This one's simply unbeatable. Now I hope that's not true, because I hope to make many more burgers in my lifetime, and I hope that I can beat this. But what I will say is that I'm glad that I'm learning. This is crazy. Just look at how tall it is. Look at how beautiful it is. And wait to see how juicy it is. I don't even know how many layers there were on this thing, but I could sit here for an entire day and just look at this thing. I mean, eventually I'd probably want to eat it, but I'm blown away by its beauty. And the pretzel bun is such a unique twist. I left it in for about 45 seconds on each side, and I'm hoping that it'll be a little bit chewy, because I think that's an added dimension in a burger that I've really never experienced. I think the best way to dive into this is going to be to try to cut it in half, to really see all that juice come out and try to show you what it looks like in the inside. Show you the skeleton of the burger. After that, of course, I'll try to guide you through what it tastes like. Let's sandwich it down a little bit, and then try to cut our knife straight through here. Here I go. I have to say, that was actually a cleaner cut than I thought I was gonna get. And opening it up, that's pure perfection. Now, before I dive in and absolutely destroy this burger, just look at that. I like that it's squeezable down to a biteable size. Is biteable even a word? Those crispy onions are lining the front of this right now, which will give an added crunch that we haven't seen before. That bun looks so incredibly fluffy. The whole thing just screams, eat me. So let's do it. Now, here we go. Wow, that's crazy. It's dripped all the way down my arm, but I don't even care. There are so many things going through my head right now. They say to make great food, you have to focus on so many things, namely salt, fat, acid, heat, those kind of things. But when you think past that, you have to think of even more. Yet with this burger, I feel like it pushes the boundaries of having too much. Enough different textures and flavors and different intensities of cold and hot that it throws your mind for a loop, that you don't even know what to focus on when you're eating it. We have those crispy onions, we have that salted tomato that's so juicy. We have those pickles that give a zing. We have that special sauce that's so complex by itself. Then we have that Wagyu, which, oh my gosh. And then that pretzel bun, which is chewy and crunchy on the edge. The lettuce doesn't really do anything. Get out of here, lettuce. But seriously, this is a knockout crazy burger. You don't get this every day. I will say, if you're making everything homemade, this is gonna take you a little while. I'm not gonna lie. I just wanna be honest about that part. But every little ounce of flavor here is worth it. I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, maybe join that notifications gang, because we're having a lot of fun in the notifications gang. I don't think I can join it because it's my own notifications gang, but if I could, I would already be joined. Also, make sure you toss a comment on the video. Tell me what you want to do next. Tell me what you thought about the burger. It was a crazy burger, I'll tell you that much, but I really would love to hear your thoughts. In the meantime, I'm gonna clean my hands, and I'll see you next time. If you've ever seen viral, trendy food videos online, you've probably seen honeycomb candy. And it's actually really cool. The idea is that there's this candy that actually sort of looks just like honeycomb that doesn't taste a little bit like honey. But I was recently looking through some of those viral videos online, and I was a little bit upset to find out that a lot of the time it actually doesn't have any honey in it at all. Really, you just have that evil corn syrup, which I'll be honest, the more I cook, the more I realize the corn syrup really can do some magic. How do you think you get that really nice crispy crackly glaze on top of a Krispy Kreme donut? It's all corn syrup. But today we're gonna do something awesome. I have gotten myself an entire honeycomb. Not the honeycomb candy, the actual honeycomb from a bunch of bees. And I'm gonna take this honeycomb and make some honeycomb candy that actually has honey in it. It's a super simple recipe to follow with only a couple ingredients that you probably already have at home. And more importantly, it's delicious. First, let me show you this honeycomb. Now here's my box. When this thing arrived, there were literally stickers all over it. I couldn't let this thing get exposed to sunlight. I had to be careful about heat and stacking it. Clearly there's something really precious inside. And here's the best part. When I opened it up, I was beyond happy to be surprised by the type of packing peanuts that I've always said are edible. Now, I highly recommend you don't eat these because these are not actually edible. But back in school, my genius brain always used to think that they were, and I'd pop them right in. Funnily enough, they taste exactly like cornflakes. But in all seriousness, I'm not joking when I say don't eat these. It's just shocking how much these taste like cornflakes. For the record, I haven't opened this yet. You're seeing it all in real time right now. I'll brush all these packing peanuts off, and after these 8 million pounds of plastic wrap, I'll remove my honeycomb frame. Now this is really cool. You can see right there, close up to the edge, where the honeycomb itself is actually just clinging to the frame, almost hanging on for dear life. I'm gonna start by cutting this out of this big vacuum sealed package. I have to be really delicate with this thing here, so I'm gonna cut around the sides instead of trying to slide it out. The moment I open this thing up, the entire room is filling with the scent of honey. It smells so good. It smells so good. That is the most powerful smell of honey I've ever experienced. It's sweet, it's creamy, it's warm, it's almost kind of flowery and herbal and crazy aromatic. Now I'm gonna be real careful here and lift this thing up. That is so cool. Now, can you believe that that right there is an entire frame of honeycomb? I mean, I guess it's not that hard to believe because I am holding it right here, but it's just incredible to look at. Just check out that detail as you get really close to the corners here. I love how it almost clings like webbing to the edge. And as I get even closer, each individual hole is perfectly shaped. Every single one just like the one next to it. But honestly, I can't get over this smell. Something about this has a honey fragrance unlike anything I've ever experienced before. And I think this is gonna help us make the most amazing honeycomb candy we possibly can. But enough about the honeycomb. Let's get cooking. I'm gonna start with just a little bit of my honeycomb in this little glass bowl. Even when we are using real honey for this honeycomb candy recipe, we actually only need a few tablespoons. But first we have to separate that wax from the actual honey. And the way to do that is really simple. I'm just gonna pulse this in the microwave a couple of times until the honey starts to separate from the wax. Then we'll strain it. Don't melt it so long that the wax itself starts to melt too much. But you can see already that it's turned into quite a liquid here, and that there's a bunch of wax pooling up on the side of my glass bowl here. Now, holding my strainer over another little glass bowl, I'll pour that honey straight through the strainer. That should catch all the wax, and again, as you can see, we actually caught most of it on the edge of the bowl when it started hardening again. Now here we should have a few tablespoons of pure, delicious honey, but we can keep straining this a few more times to get all of that wax out, because it'll continue to separate right on the top of the bowl. Now to start making our honeycomb candy, we'll add into our pan 2 cups of sugar, 1/2 cup light corn syrup, 1 tablespoon of honey, and a 1/3 cup of water. We'll stir this around until it's well incorporated, then bring our pan up to medium-high heat and let it go until it starts to boil. Once this mixture hits 300 Fahrenheit or about 150 Celsius, remove it from the heat. Now immediately sprinkle in 1 tablespoon of baking soda and whisk for only about 5 seconds. This will bubble up a ton, and that's great because that means our honeycomb candy is gonna have a lot of nice air bubbles in it. Then we'll immediately pour this into a parchment-lined baking sheet that's been well greased. Try to pour low so that you don't pop any of the air bubbles. A lot of this will stick to the pan, but that's okay. Do what you can and then let it go. And to get this whole mess off your pan, fill it up with water and let it come to a boil several times. This will all pour right out. Don't try to hack and scrape at it. That'll just ruin your pan. We are not going to touch this or even move this for 1 to 2 hours. It'll almost look like hot bubbly lava and will sit there and rise up and down. But don't be tempted to touch it or do anything. Just let it sit. While we take a moment to wait for our honeycomb to set, I'd like to take a moment to talk about our sponsor for today's video, honey. And what better sponsor could I possibly have for a video on honeycomb? These days, online shopping is huge. In fact, I buy nearly all of my ingredients online now, and that's where honey comes in. It's a free browser extension that searches the entire internet for promo codes, then automatically tests and enters them when you're checking out. Here's how it works. Let's say I'm looking, ironically, for honey products. I'll scroll through, add a couple things to my shopping cart, and then while I'm checking out, honey will automatically pop up, and all I have to do is click apply coupons. Then, honey automatically searches for the best promo codes, and if it finds a working code, boom, money saved. Just last week, I saved about $25 on a new chef's knife. And again, I hope to make clear to all of you that I would never recommend something that I don't use. I quite literally use honey myself every day. So, to get honey in just 2 clicks, you can go to joinhoney.com/Nick, and you'll start saving right away. Please make sure you do joinhoney.com/Nick so they know I sent you. I'll leave this exact link in the description as well, just to help you out. Thanks again for sponsoring today's video, honey. And speaking of honey, I think it's time we crack into that honeycomb. Now that this has been resting for about an hour and a half, or probably almost 2 hours, let's take it out of here. I love that right now it's still kind of in a standalone type dish. It's almost just made its own container here. But let's peel back our parchment paper as gently as possible. The better you oil up this parchment paper, the easier this part will be. But it looks like I did a pretty good job here. Now we'll take this whole block out of our parchment paper. I want to show this up close for a second because that is really cool. And honestly, I can't tell what's cooler. The honeycomb made by bees or the honeycomb made by me. I gotta say, everyone, they're both pretty sweet. Also, don't worry if it sinks down just a little bit. It sets a little bit higher in the pan, but some of those air bubbles are naturally gonna pop and sink it down in the middle. And as long as you still have those nice air bubbles and get that honeycomb texture, you're good. I'll move my parchment paper out of the way and set this down on my cutting board. To crack this bad boy open, I'll use the blunt end of my knife. You can use whatever tool you want here, but I figure something like a spoon and a knife will have a nice edge that won't be too sharp and it'll actually crack it when I hit it. Now, crack away. As you can see right here, we got a really nice honeycomb texture. It definitely settled a little bit more at the bottom, but that's all right. This is our first ever attempt here, and I've heard these can be pretty temperamental. We crushed it. Let me just hit it a few more times to get some smaller pieces. The more air bubbles you have on the inside of this, and the lighter it looks, the better you've done. We've done a really great job. The only other thing you have to keep in mind is that it needs to have that hard crack when you bite into it. So just listen for a second. Perfect. Now we're gonna dip some of that honeycomb into chocolate. To start, I do have this nice big beautiful hunk of chocolate, but I'm gonna be lazy today. And instead of cutting that up, I'm gonna use these nice little bits that I got going on here. Tempering chocolate's actually pretty easy. The idea is basically that you're gonna make the chocolate such that when you dip it, it'll harden back into that perfect shiny chocolate and won't just melt at room temperature. Think of a Snickers bar. That chocolate on the outside of a Snickers bar, it's tempered. It can sit there at room temperature and get that nice little crack when you bite into it. It's never gonna really melt at room temperature, unless you're in a ridiculously hot room, but you get the point. First, I'll add about 80 grams of this chocolate into a glass bowl over a double boiler. This pan at the bottom just has a little bit of water, and when that water boils, it's gonna start melting the chocolate in a really gentle way. To start, we wanna bring this chocolate to 114 degrees Fahrenheit. I know it's very specific, but that's the point. Place an instant read thermometer in here and let that melt. Once it hits 114 degrees Fahrenheit, remove this from the heat immediately. Then right away, I'll add another 60 grams of chocolate and slowly stir this around while I let that melt. Again, this is gonna be a really specific number, but we're gonna be waiting for this to come down to exactly 91 degrees Fahrenheit. Once that chocolate hits that perfect 91 degrees Fahrenheit, you're ready to dip. Can I just show you that again? Look how beautiful that is. This is one of those times where it's okay to lick the spoon. Now with a few pieces of our honeycomb, let's dip them right into our chocolate. Once you get a nice coating that perhaps just covers part of it, lay this down on a parchment layered baking sheet and let it cool. I don't want to do this with all my honeycomb, but maybe just a couple pieces to mix it up a little bit. It really does look cool when it's dipped. I also want to do this as quickly as possible here, because the closer my chocolate is to that perfectly tempered temperature, the easier it'll be to get that dip in and then have them cool in the perfect way. Some of my honeycombs still have that lip up there, which I'm actually really excited to bite into, because I already know that this part right here is going to be a heck of a lot crispier and thinner than anything over here. This will give me that chewier bite over on this end, while this one will be a light crisp, almost like a cracker. This also gives me the perfect handle to dip yet again in my chocolate. Now that we've dipped all our honeycomb, let's toss this in the fridge for just a little bit to let that chocolate solidify, and then we're ready to eat. Now that our chocolate's been resting in the fridge for a little while, it's fully tempered and it's set. Let me just lift this whole bad boy right off for you. Isn't it satisfying how easily that comes off? And most importantly, you can tell by the shine on this chocolate that we've done a really good job tempering. This should almost crunch a little bit when we go to bite this. It shouldn't be really soft like a piece of fudge. It should snap and then be soft and smooth after we eat it and it warms up in our mouth. Now you might be wondering, how do I still have this whole perfectly intact honeycomb even though we made that candy? Very simple. I tricked you. I just had more honeycomb to work with. But I wanted to save this whole piece to do some honeycomb ASMR towards the end because that's the biggest treat to your ears that you can possibly give. This honeycomb ASMR is going to be music to your ears. Here we go. I'm gonna start by cutting some of this out of the frame. I'll leave some of it in there because we don't need that big a piece to start with. Now I'll cut out about a square size of honeycomb and then lift the rest of the comb up to leave that piece. What we're left with is a perfect wafer of honeycomb. I kind of just want to take a giant bite out of the corner here, but I can't forget why we're here. Honeycomb ASMR. Look at the honey just begging to come out of the edge of that. Now just watch and listen as I cut through this. And now we'll split it open. You can't tell me that that's not one of the single coolest things you've ever seen. And now listen and watch as I squeeze out that honey. That is some of the stickiest, most amazing honey that you will ever see. I feel like Winnie the Pooh right now. But I think for today, we've had enough fun with our honeycomb. Let's go ahead and eat what we came here to make today. Now you know I can't go through this without taking a big bite out of a big piece of honeycomb itself first. So let me get close so you can listen. It's just bustling with that sweet, sweet nectar at the edge, and I cannot resist. I'm gonna eat it like a sandwich. Oh, that's so good. You know, the crazy thing is I'm actually continually bummed out by how many fillings I have at this point. I literally have to go in like 3 weeks to get a couple more fillings in my teeth. And I'm always so confused why my teeth are so bad, but now we know why. Why would I do anything like that? But let's get to the real tasting, the honeycomb itself. We have two options here. The regular honeycomb and the chocolate dipped honeycomb. Let's start with the regular just to get that pure flavor. Examining this piece closely, we got really nice airflow through there. Those bubbles are awesome. There's a little bit of settling at the bottom where I think it'll be a bit chewier, but I actually kind of like that. The whole bite is gonna be completely different all the way through. Now let's give this a try. That is crazy. I bit a lot harder than I probably should have to start because I didn't think too hard about how there would be that chewy resistance towards the middle. And I mean that in the best way possible. It is so good. The second you bite into that, it's almost kind of light and foamy, but then starts dissolving in your mouth into almost a honey-like taffy. That color on there just screams caramelization, and the flavors are ridiculous. What I love also is that I do taste the honey in there because we actually did put a little bit of honey in this one. In my mind, how can you call it honeycomb candy if you don't actually put honeycomb in there? I know it looks like it, but toss in that flavor. Come on. Now for the chocolate dipped one. We tempered our chocolate really well, and I'm pumped to try it out. Here we go. Oh yeah, that is incredible. I'm really happy that I used dark chocolate because it couples really well with the almost overwhelming sweetness from that honeycomb. I'm realizing I never held up the two side by side, so before we finish, I just want to show you that. They actually do look pretty similar, don't they? Color and texture wise, it's great. But for now, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you loved it as much as I loved making it. And thanks again to our sponsor, Honey, for helping us grab that honeycomb. It's always nice to be able to play with such incredible ingredients. Now, don't forget to like the video, toss in a comment, whatever you want. I read all of them. And in the meantime, make sure you subscribe. And if you really want to, join that notifications gang with us. I got a lot of honey to clean up and a lot of honeycomb to finish. So I'll see you next time. Today we're doing a nice little comparison. Today's video will be a little bit different than what we traditionally do. Instead of just making one hero dish, we're actually gonna do more of a comparison. People often get confused by how many different types of meat there are. There's so many terms that fly around. Wagyu, Kobe, beef, steak, A5. And then within Wagyu, there's all these very particular names that can actually get quite confusing. And on top of that, there are a million different cuts of meat. Tenderloin, sirloin, tomahawk. I get it, it gets really confusing. But today we'll do a nice simple comparison that I think will be really fun. I've got two strip loins right next to me, but one of them is American Wagyu while the other is Japanese Wagyu. So we'll get a nice simple comparison going. Fundamentally, what makes these two things different? How do they look different? How do they cook different? What's the difference when you're cooking them? And I think most importantly, what's the difference in taste? Flavor. This right here is an American Wagyu strip loin. Take a really nice close look at the marbling on this. Already, you can tell that this would be a much higher quality piece of meat compared to the beef you might get at the supermarket up the road. If I were to go into that supermarket and lay this next to all the other meat, your eyes would be drawn right to this piece. While it may not be the prettiest marbling you've ever seen, there's a really good blend between fat and meat here. But just wait until you see the Japanese Wagyu. This right here is the same cut, except instead of American Wagyu, this is Japanese A5 Wagyu. To get into specifics, this is an A5 Takamori strip loin. Both are between 10 and 12 ounces, so I'm keeping everything pretty standard across the board to compare these two pieces. But right away, can't you see that difference in marbling? Just look how complex and amazing it is up here. You would be in absolute awe if this was sitting at your supermarket next to everything else. While the American stands out, nothing compares to what I'm holding right here. Now you'll notice I'm still holding these in the packaging. I've talked about this before, but particularly in our Japanese Wagyu here, if I hold that fat, it's gonna start melting immediately in my hand. All this Wagyu, as usual, is from my go-to spot, the Wagyu shop. That has never and will never be an ad. This is where I buy my Wagyu beef. I've tried literally every single place you can get Wagyu online, and this is my spot. Before we cook these up, let me go ahead and tell you a few of the differences between these two, because it'll kind of help with context to know what we're getting ourselves into. The most important difference between American and Japanese Wagyu is all about genetics. Japanese Wagyu are full blood, which means that both parents must have 100% Wagyu genetics. Obviously, that's not the same case for American Wagyu. The genetics are verified through DNA testing, and bloodlines are very carefully traced. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, American Wagyu are crossbred, which means that the parents are one full-blood Wagyu cattle crossed with another breed, which usually happens to be Black Angus. But American Wagyu do have to be at least 50% Wagyu genetics. Not surprisingly, outside of genetics, the way these are raised makes another huge difference. Aside from American Wagyu being domestic, domestic and Japanese Wagyu being imported, of course. The cattle are fed for different lengths of time. American Wagyu are fed anywhere between 250 and 450 days. Japanese Wagyu are fed for over 600 days and many times over 700 days. That's an insane difference. In terms of the actual product, we've obviously tried Japanese A5 numerous times now, and we know that it'll have that melt in your mouth buttery texture. The actual color is also a little bit lighter, more pinkish. The actual loins and steaks that are cut from them are naturally going to be wider, knowing that Japanese cattle are much larger than their American counterparts. Now, we won't quite be able to cut this with a fork the way we can do with Japanese Wagyu, but this will still be much better than any USDA prime product. I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little tired of just talking about these steaks. Let's cook them up and try them out. Now that I've got both my steaks laid out on my cutting board, it's time to season them up. They've been resting at a room temperature long enough that we're ready to cook them. You don't want to rest these for too long at room temp, especially the Japanese Wagyu, because there is just so much fat there. And like a stick of butter, it's gonna start melting on you. I like to keep it very simple when cooking Wagyu. I really like to taste the flavor that's within. Just a little bit of salt over the top of each one. I'm gonna use a really fine salt today. Both of these cuts of meat are the stars today, and we're just trying to compare them as they are. I don't need any fancy salt action right now. I'll flip both of them over and salt the other sides. Then, once some of that salt is spilled all over my cutting board, I'll gently press the edges of each cut of meat to make sure that everything is coated in salt. Same thing for my piece of Japanese Wagyu. Now that we've taken them out of the packaging, I want to show you another close-up look at that marbling. It really is fascinating how perfect these pieces of meat are, and it's a treat every single time I get to cook one of these up. And I don't want to leave out the American Wagyu. That is a damn good looking piece of beef right there. But again, the difference in marbling kind of reminds me of a parent and child making an art piece next to each other. Everything's always relative, and one of them is going to turn out looking pretty silly compared to the other one. Now that these are well seasoned, let's cook them up. Now I'll crank the heat up with my carbon steel pan. You can see that this bad boy has some weird coloring on it. And like a cast iron, it's gonna build up that dark patina, whatever it's called, over time. To start, I think I wanna do my American Wagyu, because it's a little bit thicker, so I'll leave it a little bit more time to rest before we cut these open. Once my pan gets nice and hot, these steaks are gonna be cooked in slightly different ways. The American Wagyu has a nice fat cap here. So to lubricate our whole pan and start the cooking process, I'm gonna render off this fat. Now once that oil gets nice and hot, lay your pan flat and start to build up that crust. Leave this here and just let it go for several minutes to build up that crust. And once you get a nice crust on that first side, flip that over. Once your meat is finished, take this out and first admire that crust that you got in there. But then rest it for about 15 minutes on a wire rack. Now for our second steak, I had to cut off the corner because I didn't think the whole thing would fit in my pan. But this actually helps me out. This little piece of fat right here will help to lubricate up the pan, the same way we had that fat cap for our American Wagyu. As you can tell, this Japanese Wagyu does not have much of a fat cap on top. The whole thing is a fat cap. So I'll toss in my little trimmings here and let that fat start to render off in the pan. Basically just move those around until you can see a small pool of oil build up in your pan. We need to make sure that this pan is really hot for the Japanese Wagyu because it doesn't cook for long on each side at all. Now, once our pan begins to smoke, we're ready to put this in. Again, pretty quick on each side. We're just looking for that nice thin crust and getting it a little bit cooked on each side. And listen for that sizzle. Now, just leave it. If we have a hot pan here, it shouldn't take very long to get a crust. So, I'm now gonna flip this over. We nailed that crust. Absolutely killed it. Once we're all set here, I'll carefully lift out this piece of meat, admiring that beautiful crust on there, and lay it down to rest as well. I'm really happy with the crust and the color that we got on both of these steaks. What's interesting is that even though we had the same temperature, you can see that this gets a slightly lighter crust than this one. I'm honestly not sure why that is, but let's cut into these bad boys. I'll start by moving my tray out of the way and resting them both down on my cutting board. Let's start by looking at the crust on that American Wagyu. This thing is absolutely dripping. That crust that we got in there is just incredible. And no, it's definitely not burnt. I am so excited to cut into this bad boy. Now let's move on over to our Japanese strip loin. As you can see, this thing's got a really nice crust as well. It doesn't have quite as thick a crust built up. With that said, it's still got a really nice hard crust on here, and it's also just dripping with juice and fat. Let's cut into both of these and see how they look. To start, I'll grab my knife and just go for it with this one. I want to start right down the middle. And here we have the moment of truth. Perfect. Keep in mind that we could eat all of this meat raw. I know you've heard of steak tartare. I'll cut through this entire steak just so we can flip it up and give it a little bit more seasoning at the middle there. I also just want to show you this up close. This right here is a perfectly cooked piece of Wagyu. Like a lot of people, I typically like my steak medium rare. And temperature wise, this is dead on medium rare right here. Now before we season that anymore, let's cut this one open too. These are a heck of a lot easier to cook because again, you really just quickly need to sear it on either side. It's not too hard to cook up a piece of really high-end Japanese Wagyu in my opinion, as long as you know the correct technique. I'll flip all of these pieces up and right away I can tell that it's perfect. Again, it's fairly hard to mess up the cooking process of this one. As you can see with this Japanese Wagyu here, we've absolutely killed it. And if you look even closer, you can still see that perfect marbling of fat and beef. To start, I have a little treat, a nice little additional twist for our video. Over the last week or so, I've been curing egg yolks. It's a very simple process and I'll make a video on it soon. But right now, I'm digging out one of these egg yolks. Inside this even mixture of salt and sugar is a cured egg yolk. Once I brush off the rest of that sugar, you have your cured egg yolk. Now, once we rinse it off with water, you can see that we have that perfect, beautiful yolk that almost looks like a dried apricot. I've already gone ahead and dried the rest of the yolks in the oven. So we're now at the point that I can take one of these yolks, then take a little microplane grater here, and really nicely grate it over the top of my beef. You can see that that's just like Parmesan cheese. It's actually really cool. Then I'll hit my beef with just a little bit of white flaky salt to season the inside of that beef that we couldn't hit when we seasoned initially. As far as I'm concerned, that right there is one of the most beautiful bites that you can possibly have when it comes to food. Now that these beauties have been treated with yolk and flaky salt, let's eat. Now this is the moment we've clearly all been waiting for. On the left, we have American Wagyu, and on the right, we have Japanese A5 Wagyu. Both the same cut, both the same size, around 10-12 ounces, both with the same seasoning. We kept this fight as even as we could. Since we cooked the American first, I feel like it's only fair if we try it first. Here we go. Ooh, that is gonna be hard to beat. That's fire.
It's actually good.
Yeah. The way that I'm gonna think about the American Wagyu is that it's the best piece of normal steak that you could possibly ever have. Think about going into any steakhouse and getting the nicest steak on the menu, maybe one that's not Wagyu, and having them cook it perfectly, serve it nice and bubbly hot, and treat it with just the right amount of seasoning. That's what we've nailed right here. It's got that perfect chewiness, but also that perfect combo of fat there that's just so hard to beat. But now let's hop over to that Japanese Wagyu, see what we got going on. Again, that looks pretty damn ridiculous, but I'm not gonna say anything till I try it, so let's go. I do wanna start by saying that I can very easily just tear this apart. It's soft, it's amazing, but I'm not gonna get biased. Here we go. I see a balloon floating up outside. I got distracted. See the balloon?
Oh yeah.
Pretty cool, huh? I love balloons. It's so crazy good. I got the perfect answer for everybody. We kind of knew a lot of this stuff going into it. This one definitely has a higher balance of fat to meat, but this one over here is more similar to your traditional steak, but it's also just the best dang traditional steak you could ever ask for. So here's how I'll put it. If I'm having one little tiny bite and I want that perfect, amazing, insane bite of meat that's gonna blow my mind, I'm probably gonna choose that hot, bubbly, buttery piece of Japanese Wagyu. And let me just tell you that cured egg yolk on the top is insane. But if I'm sitting down to eat a really good steak and I wanna have an entire thing for my dinner, I'd probably pick the American Wagyu every single time. With that said, these were both insane, and I'm really happy that we did this. The other thing that I do love about the American Wagyu is that I can get that really nice thick crust on there. And there's something about eating meat with a really nice crust on the edge that I just absolutely love. It's just hard to beat. And if you grow up eating steak, that's how you have it. So it's just nice to have it that way. With that said, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I want to thank each and every one of you for all your support. Hope you loved it. In the meantime, I hope you'll excuse me because I got a lot of meat to eat. Oh God. You already know that I love cacao pods. They can be used to make such a wide range of things, way beyond chocolate. The seeds have a really fruity flesh, somewhat like lemonade, somewhat like a Jolly Rancher. It's really hard to explain. Then of course, inside are the actual seeds. And those seeds are what are used to ultimately make chocolate. But how can we take that further? How can we go past that and make cooler things, make new things out of it? Well, if you've been watching this series, you already know that we've made a bunch of different things out of cacao pods. We've made lava cakes and brownies, and I guess quite a few baked goods. But today I want to go a little bit further than that and head from sweet to savory. We are going to use these cacao pods to make a Mexican mole sauce. Now I'll be honest, I've never made mole. I actually learned a lot about it in a class during college, and I'm sure I've had it once or twice, but it seems like such an incredible, well-developed, and really well-flavored sauce. So I'm going to see if I can use local ingredients that I have access to make as close as I can get to a traditional mole. Let's roll. Now, I know some people still really want that knife throw, so here it is. This is today's knife throw. I don't actually have that many knife throw bloopers because I don't mess them up too often, but let me try that again. Now let's start with our chicken. Traditionally, really soft, slow-cooked chicken is the carrier for a mole sauce. So I'm gonna try to do that in a fairly traditional way. We'll start with our whole chicken. We don't have to butcher it or anything. I'll definitely show how to do that in a separate video, but for now, this is easy. It's only 3 ingredients, and then this is off and cooking. You'll notice I have a small cutting board on top of my typical cutting board, which is something I always do when using any raw ingredients or anything like onions, garlic, stuff that'll contaminate or make my main cutting board smell bad. Then I just toss this in the dishwasher at the end. It's actually a really great kitchen hack. I'm actually excited because this is a really plump chicken. But before I put it in the pot, I'm first gonna dress this chicken with some butter. It's my little trick that I always do whether I'm roasting or just normally cooking a chicken, and it gives that really good rich buttery flavor. You simply just have to lift up that skin and fit your hand all the way back through there. It's actually way easier than it looks to make that separation between the flesh and the skin. Then, simply take your butter and start working that back towards the end of the chicken. Those cubes of butter will sit between the flesh and the skin and slowly melt as the chicken begins to cook. And now our chicken is ready to cook. Once our chicken's buttered up, I'm gonna open up my pot that's got a little bit of water in there. Then I'll rest my chicken breast side down right in this pot. Looks like I measured that water level perfectly. I'll add in a few hunks of rough chopped onion, which will just give a little bit of flavor to that chicken, as well as a nice generous sprinkle of salt. After that, we'll cover up the pot, and this will slow cook in the oven at about 300 Fahrenheit until the chicken is fall apart tender. If you've heard of mole, you probably know that it has chocolate in it. That's what makes it such a unique sauce. As you know, with our cacao series, we pretty much always turn this cacao pod into nibs before we make our final dish. So let's do exactly that. You already know I've got to do my karate chop. I've been practicing. I'm aiming for just one chop to open the whole thing up. Here we go. Ah! That was a bit too aggressive of a karate chop because as you can see, the inside's been all broken into when I did that. But the important thing is we got it open. Before I empty these into a bowl, I'll move this to the side and do my next one. I'm actually really curious to see if I can do a left-hand chop. This time, a much cleaner cut. And as you can see inside, our beautiful cacao fruit covering those seeds. I couldn't karate chop that last one. My hand's starting to get really messed up from doing this so much. But now that we've got these all broken open, let's empty them into our bowl. People always love to hear that gooey stickiness of these. And I'll always be the first to admit that it's crazy that chocolate comes from this. Once I finish emptying all of these into my bowl, I'm gonna cover these up and let them ferment for about a week. Once these have fermented, I'll spread them out on my tray, really getting them nice and even, and I'll roast these in the oven until they're golden brown and crumbly. Once they've roasted, they'll be nice and hard and crumbly. And now we can take some of these seeds individually, crush them under our hand, and we'll get cacao nibs. As I often say, you might recognize these from the top of a smoothie bowl or something like that, but these are what would be essentially ground into chocolate. But with some added sugar and maybe milk powder, these are what are ground into chocolate bars. And once I've separated out all my nibs, I'll pour about 5 ounces into my spice grinder. Alternatively, I can just take a knife and chop these up. And if you're making this mole recipe, you'll just take regular dark chocolate and either pulse it down a little bit in a food processor or chop it up with a knife. I'm just gonna pulse this a couple times to break it down a little bit more. Now once we've ground our chocolate into a finer powder, we'll pour this into our bowl to save for our mole sauce, as this comes towards the end of our recipe. But I thought it was important to get this ingredient ready before we actually got to that step. Traditionally, mole will have guajillo, ancho, and chipotle chiles. Today, I've pretty much gotten everything I can get around here. And I think the important part is that I have the dried guajillo chiles here. I'll be honest, I'm not the best when it comes to eating spicy foods, but I'm trying to get better. And it's actually really cool having new things in my kitchen like this. One thing I do love about these chiles is that you can still hear those seeds rattling around on the inside, almost like a rattlesnake. To start, I'm gonna prepare all my chiles by simply taking off the heads and removing all those seeds on the inside. I'm too much of a baby. I simply can't handle any of those seeds. But if you dare, I imagine you could leave all the seeds in and make a pretty mean mole. Once I've taken off all the heads of my peppers, I'll take a spoon and dig out all the seeds. I can tell that some of these peppers are really spicy because even the juices that are spraying off of some of them are burning my fingers. I'm sure a lot of people will laugh looking at some of the peppers I have about how much of a baby I really am with spice. But
Okay, I'm back. I had a hefty meal. Let's make sure we win this fight. But for now, I'm going to turn off the television set. thank you to Cats for the most kills. Let's see. So we have 2 more stages left. I just need 1 more Berserker and 1 more Templar. Oh. And currently, my Berserker is ready. That looks fine. So what was I doing again? Right, I should continue the story. I'm feeling the heat right now, so I'm going to turn on the air conditioning too. Okay, I'm good. I think. If anybody has not yet, I made a post on Twitter, and thank you, Kiba. And the last upload for YouTube and TikTok is now online. If anybody could help me share my latest upload, that would be amazing too. And thank you for the epic artillery, Kiba. Alright, where were we going? Right, base station 2. Hope your day has been well so far, Kiba. And thank you once again for the Stream Raider support. Did I crash again? Be safer than sorry, I'm going to restart the game real quick. Alright, restarting the game. Apologize about that. Make sure it's up and running again. Because sometimes this does happen. This game is really not prepared for use by... is not prepared to be used by the lowest computers. Like, I think the hardware is fine. It's just that this really needs 32 gigabytes of RAM. To work for Twitch and YouTube. We can go up the stairs like this, okay. Oh, hello. I could have just teleported. Let's get a picture together. Hey, thank you, Cat, for the Epic Barbarian. You can barely see the rain, in all honesty.
No signs of Lynn or Shirley yet? Seems we're the first to arrive.
Oh, I was saying, this base has a bunch of talk about this guy.
Or perhaps they ran into trouble?
If that's so, I think they should be able to handle it. It's a shame the equipment here isn't in better condition. It's going to take us several days at least to restore everything.
If we can't fix the base station for several days, do we have any other ways to go to Innis?
Without a space rift, the only way to get there would be the deep-sea tunnels.
Deep-sea tunnels?
Yes, a primitive accessway established during the founding of the Second City for the transportation of materials, equipment, and personnel. The later establishment of stable space rift networks with Meroria rendered the tunnels mostly obsolete. There's an entrance to the tunnels quite close to here, just over there.
Umi.
Is that Umi?
Let's go and see what's happening over there.
Over where? Which way are we going? Oh, clearly I don't have enough water for my vocal cords. My vocal cords. Hey look, a giant tree. Surely this has some significant meaning. Yeah, surely this has to have meaning. Ooh, an elevator, convenient. I said, ooh, an elevator, convenient.
Miss Lynn? Miss Lynn, help me!
Oh, what's happening here? He's smiling.
Really, very careless. The game is up, really. You can't lie to us anymore.
When did you figure it out?
Almost right away. You're a poor actress.
done for.
Who is she? Okay, who is this knockoff Lady Dimitrescu from... Evacuate from the center! Evacuate! Evacuate! There you are.
Hi, how are you?
Really? Really? I can't hit the shield! I can't break it! I literally cannot dodge in time to this thing! I have only 3 dodges! I want to see the shield breaking animation! Ow! Oh, I did the thing! I did the thing! I dodged! I dodged! I pressed! You guys see my button inputs? This is something I really need to send to their customer service. Like, I'm pressing, and like, how does it not count? It's fine. I pressed the dodge button! I tried! I'm out of dodges, game! What do you want me to do? Oh, I dodged! I dodged! I pressed the button! What do you want me to do? And how does this work? I just wanted to see was the shield breaking animation. Ow. I pressed the button! I pressed the button! I pressed the damn button! No, I can't accept that. I pressed the buttons! I press shift, I press right mouse button. How is it not working? I don't understand it. See, why do these instances work? Yo, Metroid, thank you for the raid. I'm in the middle of something right now. But thank you regardless. How was your stream? And once again, they have no sense of pronouns with the translations. And welcome on in, everybody, from Metroid Stream. I am Miltendo. Somebody Metroid knows. And we all also play Nintendo games. I also play Nintendo just like Metroid, yo. Oh, this is not Genshin right now. This is a different game. It's even the title. That's a new attack. Different game, man. Genshin was hours ago. I'm on a schedule of different games recently. Nah, not really. Mechanically, I pressed the dodge button. I pressed the dodge button, game! I pressed the dodge button! Okay, no. We cannot accept this. Right now I'm testing something. This game's dodge mechanic is really whack. It's a sci-fi game, not a fantasy game, and it's an anime game, but that doesn't mean it looks like the most popular anime game. So yeah, I'm currently in a weird state of mind where I'm just I'm not upset at like anybody. I am upset at unpolished game design. That's it, unpolished game design. Let me give you a shout out first before I express any more salt. I do need to finish that game, too. Thank you for the raid once again.
Alright, so we're gonna do this one here.
Let me also go ahead and...
Oh, this is really gonna hurt. Okay. Actually, no, we're not gonna use any items. I forgot. We need to do a
Really? I thought I changed my title. Okay. Thank you for reminding me, guys. Nobody told me anything. Thank you so much. I didn't realize I was playing the wrong game for like 2 hours. Guess I lost 2 hours.